irony is we use the international arguments to rescue the funding in some cases. The International Space Station is basically the stinkiest thing on orbit, from what I understand. It's a men's locker room that occasionally has women in it. And the reason that this...
Are you saying men smell worse than women?
Yes. I'm saying men's locker rooms smell worse. So
how do you know that? No, I'm just
we're not going there.
I'm skeptical.
But one of the reasons that its funding was saved all the different times that it almost got canceled is because of the large number of international treaties that went into having the U.S. launch all of the pieces for other nations that forked over funding and started building things. And at a certain point, you really don't want to piss off all of your allies by canceling their favorite toy.
These are just the simple geopolitical drivers.
But the SSC got canceled. It was an international thing. The James Webb Space Telescope is an international thing, and we're
and what I'm hoping is we can rescue James Webb in part as we rescued Fermi. The Fermi mission, which Phil was part of, almost got canceled a number of times, and it was through phone calls, which actually severely ticked off the then NASA director to the point that he told all of the astronomers that we needed to sharpen up and behave or be sent to the, I kid you not, he said we'd be sent to the children's table next time we call all of our senators. Call all of your senators.
That's a quote. Pamela and I were in the audience when he said that.
And we were sitting next to each other.
Was Mike Griffin or somebody?
Was it Griffin or was it? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was like Griffin.
Yeah, sounds like Griffin.
Call him Mike.
But the hope is, we flew NASA instruments on the Chandrayaan mission that orbited the moon. We had Beagle was something that we weren't totally part of, but we were part of getting it there before it crashed and did nothing good.
They thought of it as an instrument more than a spacecraft. That's what.
Yeah,
as an engineer.
Cassini and the Huygens probe, that was again an international collaboration. Over and over and over, the way we're accomplishing science is to have different nations build the things they're best at. Canada makes the best robotic arms in the world. So to do science, we need to collaborate. And I have no idea why Canada just got wooted that much, but my husband's Canadian, so I thank you.
The Canadians are moving further south in America, apparently. Do you see that?
With global warming?
So you want to take questions? The whole thing is we want to explore space at an economical cost because we don't know what we're going to discover. And the word explore is a great word because when you explore, no matter what it is, you're going to make discoveries, and you're also going to have an adventure. Those two words are in the word explore. So the word explore is great, but it has been, at NASA, they have this thing called the Exploration Mission Directorate.
Yeah.
And that means human spaceflight, instead of what you might think of it in the bigger picture, like a telescope or a microscope or what have you. So I'd like to take questions, you all.
We do have a few minutes. I don't suppose anybody has real questions, right, for this group?
And while someone's coming up to the mic, I realized I have to say I have NASA funding. I am not speaking for NASA. Everything I say is strictly my own opinion. Standard disclosure. I like my funding.
Go ahead, George.
There we go.
My boy Kurt Vonnegut once said that when in writing, always put a human character in a setting if you want people to pay attention and be interested in it. And he said that people didn't pay any attention to the space program until we started sending human beings up there and human beings to the moon. So it may be far less sexy to send robots up there. But my point here is sorry. Okay.
If we were on a game show,
Yes,
you state that in the form of a question?
Ex-JREF staff, Sean McCabe, everybody.
I know. Anyway, so my point is, even if it's less rational and less practical, what if we need that sexiness factor of sending human beings up there to get people interested in space and funding space in the first place?
Mars Phoenix.
No, but,
it tweeted itself as a little person and was fallen in love with, and when it died, it was immortalized in Wired magazine by people who cried at the death of a Twitter feed that died with a robot.
but, you know, I think...
Wait, that's delusional. I'll explain why.
I agree.
Okay, Neil, go ahead. I'll speak later.
Allow me to explain.
Okay.
Okay? The reason why there's so much interest in that Twitter feed is because the manned program was not itself advancing an exploration frontier. Had they been doing that at the same time, no one would have given a rat's ass what the robot was doing. And that's what was implicitly recounted here with the moon. In the 1960s, there were robots on the moon. Did you hear about any of them? No, because the manned program was advancing a space frontier. If you do both simultaneously, we're going to be listening to the tweets of the astronauts and not of your robot. That's how that happened. Without the manned program, the robots look really sexy.
I hate to agree with Neil at all, but
Phoenix was cute.
No, but there's some sense to what he said in this case. But
Does anybody
we're
know
friends.
exactly when it
No,
lost
but anyway,
control of this?
the point is, I think you're right. And the fascination with humans in space is, in my mind, is one simple thing: they can die. We all want to wait and see if they're going to die, and that's the only interest in it. We want to see if they're going to die, and that fascination is hard to match with a robot dying. I agree completely. But at the same time, one can create. I think when you see, the Huygens probe, for example, was brilliant in my mind. Put a microphone on it, and you can go to the webpage and listen to it land. And then pretty soon, with what we're going to be able to have with virtual reality and the ability to have images, you will be able to be on another planet with a robot and feel like you're there. And I think at that level, it's going to feel like we're there. But I think it's very hard to compete with humans. There's no doubt about it.
On that line, are we going to have the next TAM by Skype?
Please,
Are people
no.
not going to come meet like this? Are we going to do it all robotically?
He shoots, he scores.
My point is, if we didn't look, you know what?
20 years.
If the Randy Foundation weren't so wealthy and no people couldn't afford to put it on, we'd have it all by Skype if that was the only way we could do it.
And at the end of the day, the thing is, manned space flight, kind of awesome, kind of wish I could be part of it, but there isn't the budget in the world right now to do it right. We want to learn, we want to explore, we want to do science, and we have to use robots to do that.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Should I just calm down?
No, bring it on, Dr. T.
Here's some pros.
Testify.
Plus, we got questions.
Tell the truth.
And I want to make sure we get the questions, but I got to rebut that. Rebut that. Okay. To say there's no budget in the world, the federal budget is $3-point-something trillion.
Doesn't go as far as it used to.
Yeah, it used to be real money.
If you want to count to 1 trillion, it would take you 100,000 years, and that's one number per second every waking and sleeping moment of your life. That's how big that number is, point one. Point two, it's not that we can't afford it, it's that we have chosen to not afford it. I tweeted recently that the U.S. bailout of the banks exceeded the 50-year budget of NASA. You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you were trying to build and to sustain. So I submit to you that when you look at the NASA budget, and I'm tired of saying this, but I'll have to say it again, the NASA budget is 0.4 of 1 penny on a tax dollar. If I held up the tax dollar and I cut horizontally into it 0.4 of 1% of its width, it doesn't even get you into the ink. So I will not accept a statement that says we can't afford it.
I gotta say, that's Dr. T.
And do the thing.
I really do look at it differently. If you're going to tell me I can cut that much of a bill off, where right up to the ink, that's a lot of money. I mean, to me, if you gave me the budgets being slashed from 19 to 18.7 now to 16 point something.
Yeah.
If you gave me $16.9 billion, I should be able to do something. Really, I should be able to get something done. But we have a legacy of these NASA centers all over the country that's left over from the Cold War, and that's got to be shaken out. It's a long way to go.
But there's another, I mean, the James Webb Space Telescope overrun is less than the cost of air conditioning in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm right there. No, I'm a huge fan of James Webb. I mean, bring it on.
Last week I was talking with David McConville, who's the president of the Buckminster Fuller Institute.
Yes.
And he said that one of the elephants in the room around space travel, in terms of tourism, space tourism, is the impact on global warming. Do any of you know anything about that? He said it was astronomical. I forget the figures.
Is he talking about the carbon footprint?
Yes, mostly, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it is kind of gross.
Well, we'll cross that bridge, people. And climate change, is the biggest problem. And so when you look at the Earth from space, I submit you are going to make discoveries about climate change that you wouldn't make.
But we're cutting looking at Earth
Oh,
from
you're
space. That's
talking
the
to the
problem.
wrong
We've
guy.
also cut the missions that are going to look at Earth from space to probe climate change.
What's the carbon footprint on a hydrogen-oxygen fuel tank?
It's the fuel tank isn't the thing. It's hauling the fuel there, cooling the.
Cooling it
can-
down.
yeah,
It
how
may
to
be
say-
making the tank.
petroleum products that maintain
Yeah.
the refrigerator and all that stuff. And then
It's like
the
your
pumps.
Prius is made of plastic, and that's a problem.
And they're solid rocket.
But we got to get questions. And the solid rockets.
I have a very simple and slightly juvenile question for all 5 of you. I just want to know what each of you think is like the next big thing that we should be doing. Like, there's a lot of people that say Mars, Earth-like planets, or robotic missions. What is each of your next big thing that you think we should be doing?
You double NASA's budget and you do it all.
The trouble is you won't do it all if you double the NASA budget.
So for me, there's 2 things. I want to know why the universe is accelerating. That's a big deal for me because I suspect it's the next relativity. It's the next classical physics. It's the next world-changing and maybe even source of energy. Then the other thing...
No, it'll never, sorry, let me make that clear.
You're not
It'll
sorry
never be
about
a source-
anything.
It won't be?
Except being here. No, anyway, no, it won't be. It can't be a source of energy. Please don't say that. You're going to encourage lots of crackpots. It is not a source of energy. It's the energy of empty space. If the energy of empty space could get any lower by working, then it wouldn't have energy. It's not a source of energy. Please don't tell people.
We will
My
never
claim-
break the sound barrier.
Yeah, exactly.
We will never...
No, the energy of empty space is...
Actually, I agree with Lawrence.
Well,
I'm just giving him
no,
a
my
hard time.
claim is that by looking for this thing, you will make discoveries. That's my claim. Then the other thing that I'd like to specifically do, I'd like to send the right instrument to some gully on Mars where there's a underground, undersand glacier oozing super salty water off the wall on a summer day and look for fossil Mars probes. Yeah. And stranger yet, crazier yet, something that's still alive. If we discovered life on another world, it would change this one in the same way Copernicus and Galileo and those guys changed it. Now, this is something you don't just throw a few $1 trillion at it, you work at it. Take a few decades. But that discovery or that proof that there was no such thing, it would also be remarkable.
And it wouldn't be that expensive. Most of it could be done without humans.
Yeah, well, humans would build this stuff, I got a feeling.
But I think the discovery of at least conditions for life elsewhere is something that is driving and probably one of the most interesting things. It doesn't, I agree, I think we need to go to, I would be amazed if we didn't find evidence of life on Mars and find it was our cousins because we pollute each other. And we've discovered that. The objects go between the 2 planets, and certainly microbes can live long enough for that short duration. But
Which means,
we'll
in fact,
also look at...
You can find Mars rocks on the moon.
Yeah,
in fact. Yeah.
And you can find them on the Earth. That's right. But yeah, as we've just heard. But we also want to look for life elsewhere, and we'll be able to eventually be able to image planets and look for oxygen atmospheres, for example, which is the oxygen on Earth only exists because of life. There was no free oxygen on Earth before life. So that would be a wonderful, wonderful probe. As one of the people who helped discover the energy of empty space, I'm fascinated by it, but I actually think, unfortunately, that's going to be it's unlikely that we're going to learn much about that in the lifetime of anyone in this room experimentally. It's just a problem, and I could go into it, that's very, very, it's the most fundamental problem in science, in my opinion, but I think it's going to require a good idea before an experimental help.
So we shouldn't inspire people to look for it.
Yeah, we should.
Because it's impossible.
Yeah.
I'll add that JWST would go a long way towards figuring out dark energy.
It's just cool.
What?
Yeah. JWST will go a long way towards
Oh,
nailing
it will
down.
not. It'll go a long way towards discovering the primordial black holes and the origin of structure in the universe. It's profoundly interesting, but I think it's unfair to say. I really worry about hyping things when I know they're not going to do what you say they're going to do, and I think JWST is plenty interesting without pretending it's going to tell us anything about dark energy.
Hubble telescope did 100 times more than what anyone ever projected for.
Exactly. But the stuff we didn't expect, not the stuff we did.
Okay, so why don't we...
Well, now hang on.
Okay, so you're saying lower our expectations for the things we expect and heighten our expectations for the things we can't figure out what to predict. it will
JW,
find.
every time we open a new window on the universe, we are surprised. And
There
that's
you
the reason.
go.
Yeah.
That's the reason to open the new windows. Because you shouldn't listen to theorists like me, because
We figured that out
because-
earlier.
yeah.
We-
Because
No, this is the big thing.
good one. Actually, that's your best line so far, Neil.
So why,
But,
why are you looking at this over this new horizon? What are you going to find? We don't know.
we don't know
That's
exactly.
Why
It's
we're
a
looking.
surprise.
New Horizons is going to find the surface details of Pluto.
Oh man, that's going to be no. Listen, I took the wheelbarrow full of postcards to Mikulski's, Senator Mikulski's office to keep the mission to Pluto going. You know, it's going to arrive in 2015. So stay tuned. It will be fabulous.
Can I just give my favorite mission, which doesn't exist and isn't funded now, but it'd be
Yeah.
really cool?
Yes.
It would be to go to Jupiter's moon, Europa,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which has an icy
Yeah, I
outer
agree.
surface. The gravitational stress on Europa from Jupiter and other surrounding moons is pumping energy into it, much the same way when you warm up a racquetball by hitting it. You distort it, it bounces back to shape, you're pumping energy into it. That has melted the interior ice. It has had an ocean of liquid water that's been liquid for billions of years. And every place on Earth we find liquid water, we have found life. I want to go ice fishing on Europa, lower a submersible, look around, and for me, the biggest question will be, what do you call that life? It'd have to be like Europeans, right? Because it's Europa. That's what I think.
Europeans.
Well,
Let's get another
I think we
question.
should go a lightning
more.
round here,
one
where
more?
only one of us can answer. We
Yeah,
have to
okay.
answer it quickly so we can get through everybody. How about
You
that?
want to talk about dreaming an impossible dream?
We're
Come
not.
on.
Yeah, we're not going to get to everybody, but we're going to have
lightning
one more
round.
good one here.
Do you think the concept of a space elevator is possible, and if when?
No. Next.
No.
But bear in mind that the space elevator is this thing that's so strong for its weight, you could just take an elevator into space. But once again, the political problems are going to be the hard thing. You know, if the thing comes loose and starts whipping around, you know, and then who's going to build and who's going to be responsible, the ultimate high ground and all that stuff. But
Plus, you might use it to drill into the Earth and drop a black hole. You
Okay,
know, that
next
could be just
question.
bad.
One more here.
anyway,
one more.
yeah, and
Here we
those
go.
materials will change
I
the world.
knew it.
Manned interplanetary spacecraft, solid shields, or electromagnetic?
Electromagnetic.
You mean like solar sails?
No, he means shielding from the
Shields.
cosmic
A
rays.
shielding problem.
For cosmic rays.
Okay. I'll go electromagnetic, yeah.
I go not at all.
He goes
Surprise.
for cancer.
I rarely have an opinion about hardware.
For real, last question. Here we go.
Why don't we spend more time talking about the economic benefit of big government science, which is technology development, the spin-off of which has paid for the space program dozens of times over?
I agree that every time we spend a lot of money, there are huge spin-offs. But one of the problems that I think about doing that, and the SSC had this problem, is we talked about all the spin-offs of doing particle physics, but we didn't do what Bill said you need to do, which is you can't justify a program by its spin-offs. You got to say it's worth doing because it's worth doing. And if you start to justify it by the spin-offs, people start to say, well, you know, why are you doing it in the first place? So there's no doubt that when we spend any amount of money, we make technological breakthroughs, but I think you have to justify it for its own sake first.
I would claim that if all you did was say we're going to innovate technologically as one pathway towards economic growth, and the other pathway would be we're going to Mars, who's coming? And everybody who's the best student in their class chooses that as their profession rather than becoming investment bankers, then you're going to innovate.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah, we have one more.
As Phil could tell you, there are plenty of ways in which space can kill us and wipe out the Earth. And so some people, in a more romantic state of mind, think of human spaceflight as a way of ensuring long-time survival of the species. Is that at all a part of these discussions at this time? Is this more just, you know, an individual driver for people?
Well,
in the
you
space
look at the
program
cover of
currently
the TAM-9 brochure. What do we call it? Episode
Program.
guide. Yeah, program. It's this whimsical thing about the future, but terraforming Mars is not as easy as it looks.
But it is, I bet we'd all agree, though, at some point in the long-term future, the future of humanity is in space. It's a part of, we want to diversify. We're all in a one-shot thing here on Earth. And so I have no problem
No,
with
it's
ultimately
delusional.
colonizing
Well,
other
It's
systems.
delusional. I'll tell you why.
Shh.
Oh,
This crops up in a different way. There's a telescope called the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope, 10-meter telescope designed to survey the sky once every 3 nights from the southern hemisphere. One of the major ways. Shh. One of the major justifications for its funding is it could find that killer asteroid and give us years, and I know this because I narrated the NSF video they're showing. It'll give us a couple years chance to figure out how to get that sucker somewhere else other than killing us. And so we can justify science by saying we're going to prolong human beings by protecting our own planet with the LSST in this case. So you can fund science by saving humans.
The only preventable natural disaster is the near-Earth object getting too near.
But I have to rebut Larry here. Lawrence.
Yeah, thank you.
Lawrence.
Neil, make it short because our keynote speaker is a real diva. So I don't want to eat into his time. I don't want to eat into his time because you know what he's like. So real short. Here we go.
It's real short. I'm guessing, Lawrence, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just guessing that whatever it takes to terraform Mars and move 1 billion people there so that we're a multi-planet species so that one planet does not go extinct from an asteroid, whatever effort that is, that's probably more than what it takes to deflect an asteroid.
I agree with you there. Absolutely, I agree with you there. But I actually.
So the notion, let's live in 22 planets so we're protected.
Oh no, I don't mean it for protected. I think we will eventually colonize other systems. I think
But you said it to protect the species, and that's.
Okay. Well, fine.
Well, we only need to move 2 people to Mars then. I read that in a book.
Adam and Eve.
Really fertile people.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, I won't tell you.
No. We're actually, we are out of time. This has been an interesting panel. I probably should have participated in some way, but there you go. Let's thank our speakers. We have Bill Nye, Neil Tyson, Pamela Gay, and Lawrence Krauss. Thank you.
And Phil Plait, our moderator.
The Planetary Society will have a table tomorrow.
Thanks. That was good. Neil?
Oh, you crazy kids.